Hello and welcome to yet another cast. For you today I have a custom 5v5 played on the Noxus map generator. We have team 1 up in the north, team 2 down in the south, the usual. And let's introduce the players. Let's start with the southernmost position of team 1. In green, going UEF and opening first and apparently second land, we have Jib. Then 2D, let's go northwest a bit. Or north-northwest, I guess. We have Fake XD going Cybran, opening first land in lime green, and we can also see a lot of reclaim on the map, a lot of big rocks. Then let's move northeast in gray, going Seraphim, opening first land. We have Lin. Yeah, I did give all the important information there, I think. Then, to the southeast of them, we have Mountain Robot in red, also going Seraphim and also opening first land. And last player of the northern team, northeast of that, in purple or lavender purple or whatever you want to call it, going UEF and opening first land, we have Furfur. Now let's go into the southern team, starting at their northernmost slot. In brown and going Aeon, opening first land, we have Chicken Ryaba. Already also reclaiming those copious amounts of rocks. Then to the south, in orange, going Cypern and opening first land, we have Bog. Then let's move further south or southwest. In piss yellow, going Cypern as well and opening first land, we have Hache. Then to the northwest, in yellow, going Cypern as well, lots of Cyprans on the southern team. There is Otrava. I think I already pointed out, in yellow, going first land. And last but certainly not least, to the southwest of that, in burgundy red, going Aeon and opening first land. And second air battle suit, we have Cheerios. Moving the commander already to the front. And so is Otrava. And very slowly, but looks fit, also Mountain Robot. Now let's look at reclaim. We are looking at a whopping 200k reclaim overall, I think. Possibly more. That is ridiculous. Anyone who actually played like on most normal maps, that's just ridiculous. If you look at reclaim, yeah, it's over 200. It's roughly 200,000 reclaim on the entire map. And that will have a significant importance early on. Well, technically the map has enough reclaim to go for, at least for T3RT, I think possibly even for one of the cheaper game enders. Just in reclaim. Like, okay, yeah, you still have to eco up for that, but it's still insane. Like, that's still a shit ton of mass. Anyway, other thing to look at. Ratings, while the players are expanding out a bit. Highest rated player, by the looks of it, seems to be Jib at 1700, never mind. Actually tied for it with Furfur, also at 1700. We have a bunch of 1600s in the southern team. 1500 and Lin. Lowest rated player is Otrava at 700, the yellow player in the southern team, and second lowest at 900 is Mountain Robot. So the rating gap between highest and lowest rated player for this game at 1000 rating points, which is pretty sizable. However, still at a 92% game balance. We will see how that goes. Transport for Cheerios sends out some engineers down to this position to get some early expansion out, grab these 3 maxes, get some early factories. Just overall secure the position. In the meantime, their ACU moved up to this position, grabbing the maxes right there, also building some factories. Now, let's see. Anything going on the other sides of the map? We already have a T2 upgrade coming out for Hachi. who seems to be building a lot of power, a reasonable idea considering the amount of reclaim on the map. Like, usually high reclaim maps means that you need a large amount of power to properly spend that mass. And we can already see T2 maxes, multiple T2 maxes being upgraded by Bug. A lot of T1 Pgens to just provide the power to allow for that mass spending. And looking at everyone, yeah, we do see large amounts of maxes. Chicken Ryaba, by the looks of it, going for large amounts of T1 factories as well to produce large amounts of spam. Engineer Trap from Furfur seemingly also coming out into a similar area as we saw from Jib, grabbing those maxes down here. But yes, of course, lots of power from every player. Big thing with Reclaim or Mass is you require power to spend Mass, since everything still takes power as well to build. And if you want to spend large amounts of Mass, of course you have to spend large amounts of power. So it makes sense that everyone is building up large amounts of power. Yes, also pretty aggressive power build, of course, out from Ultrava. Right, we already have T2 air finished for Fake at the 6-minute mark. Already working on that T2 Pgen that will allow for a much easier spending of that mass, because the 500 power you get from those is definitely very useful for that. Air currently still underway for Akomi. They have not yet gone to T2. And if we look back down in the southwest, a push out from Bark manages to run by the lines of Cheerios, taking out a few maxes right here and also seemingly pushing into the ACU, which may be a small threat there. But looks like a bunch of maxes will be lost right here, possibly down the path here as well, because it does not look like Cheerios currently has anything to really stop that. Single max lost up here, but I think the ACU is able to deal with the rest of that, so that's under control. Akomi pings a raid, and yes, it was actually a run by of a single flare and a few scouts out from Chicken Ryaba behind the lines of Furfur to try and do something there. Let's see, will that... Well, the only thing that currently has range there is the scout, and there is now a single tank moving in there, which will easily take out the lab and scout pair. So nothing really too interesting going on there. Chicken Ryaba with the commander at the front, taking out some units. The stuff you usually see. Anything else going on? Ultrava with T2 upgrade on the commander. And currently just getting some more build power up at the front. Some minor amounts of spam, but there is a army for Mountain Robot coming in as well. And that will... Well, it looks like it does currently outnumber the units of Ultrava, however, with the ACU in the area as well, that should still be in the realm of possibilities to be managed. And we do have a few units right here as well that can be utilized. Also, going for ridiculous amounts of spam production right here. Let's make a count. How many T1 factories do they have? 20. How many does it's Chicken Ryaba have? How many do they have? 11. Alright, that's not looking too great. They have achieved T2 and already have T3 queued. So if they go for some T2 spam, they might be able to deal with that, but it's still not the best position to be in, because the amount of spam that can produce is not to be underestimated. There is a bunch of those of that spam now moving in, closing in on that commander of Chicken Ryaba that has not picked up any upgrades or even a rank of veterancy, and one unupgraded commander about equal to 20 tanks Without counting, I can tell you that the ad is significantly more than 20 tanks. Chicken Ryaba is dead. Nothing to be done about it. Before that happens, let's take a short look at reclaim numbers again. 81,000 reclaim collected by Team 2, so Team 2 currently ahead on the reclaim game. That also shows off in mass game, so they are a bit ahead. But Chicken Ryaba taking a lot of fire from there, unsurprisingly, and there goes that ACU. They did try to send in some reinforcements, but it was a little too late, and that did not succeed. So, Southern team already one player down. And actually, I just realized, never mind, Eco is pretty even right now. Slight lead for Team 2. But that's a bit problematic considering their advantage in the... yeah, that's small advantage in the reclaim game, however that is also being... Right, that's also basically being equalized now, so never mind. Both teams very much even, and it looks like initiative currently is firmly in the hand of the northern team. Hachi finishes a tier 3 upgrade. Seemingly actually reclaimed the factory that they had, I guess to get more, just more mass for other stuff. And now getting up a T3 PGen. It does not look like they are going for a air build. In fact, if I do see this correctly, this is a nuke launcher, so they are trying to go for a early nuke, surprise the enemy. Well, T3 air has been achieved by Fake already. Let's see how it's going up there. T3 air also achieved by Ikomi Lin. Though they do not have their T3 PGen yet, unlike Fake XD. T3 air also achieved by Buck, however, they are also still building their T3 PGen. But they have built up a bunch of T1 factories that can just be upgraded as soon as that power is supplied to significantly increase that air production. So they should probably be able to get air control in the early game with that. Okay. Now we do see a push coming out from Cheerios, and it is a push using some places, some T2 being utilized. Very nice, but there are already T2 units also from Jib coming in to, well, to try and force that back. We do see a few pillars and flapjacks, as well as parachutes and mongoose on the far western flank. Cheerios pulling back onto the position with the factories down here, which have made it to T2, and currently have some units consolidating there for, I guess, what will be a very intensive battle to hold the area. But well, there is T3 currently at 68% for Cheerios. I think that's T3 also at about 30% for Ultrava, who is pushing in very aggressively with a army of T1 spam. However, there is a notable position of T2 point defense of those Utoshalas, those Seraphim beam cannons, quickly taking out that T1 spam. Now, even with the support of some Ishvas also moving in, quickly annihilating that army. Furfur did push forward, taking more ground, meaning more maxes and more reclaim to be collected, as there are still some unreclaimed rocks. That could be problematic. Chicken Ryaba already throwing the towel, claiming that they have lost air. Now, with all those factories that are now currently underway to T3 and the power that is now there, that could work. Like, the air could be regained. Especially in the current version, or after in the 5th version, which this is of course played on, we do now have for a while already the just support orders onto the ground, which will tell engineers to just basically support anything in an area, and that will make upgrading all of these factories very fast. However, well, okay, the nuke is finished for Hachi, but they are, of course, not going into any air. They seemingly intend to fully focus on loading that nuke to get an early advantage with that. If that works, that can be massively beneficial. If it doesn't work, they are completely fucked. Because if there is SMD built up in time, though I can currently not see any SMD being built, that is not surprising. We are at the 14-minute mark. No one expects a nuke at 14 minutes. Like, some players have not even achieved proper T3 yet. T3 is just about to finish for Further. And there's also seemingly only T2 out for Mountain Robot. Like, the fact that there is no, that we don't see any SMD up is not too surprising. Jib does have T3, and there are already Perseverance coming out. Is there any Aeon T3 to speak of? No, also no Obsidians. Do have a few Oblivions, but currently only T2. I think Titans would possibly be the better call instead of Perseverance, and we do see Titans at the front as well. That's a Mongoose. That's a Titan. Just slowly marching up, taking those out, because Titans are significantly cheaper, significantly faster, and with their rapid rate of fire they can usually handle the lower tier, so T1 and T2 spam much better than a Percival. While the Percival will generally one-shot that stuff, it also tends to overkill the units a lot, because of the high alpha strike, meaning that a lot of the shots are wasted. The Titan, on the other hand, due to the high rate of fire, won't actually waste as many shots and can be more effective though. Speaking of that, there are actually Harbingers on the field. So T3 has been achieved by Cheerios as well. Not sure if those Harbingers will be sufficient to hold that base. I think there are still more coming in to reinforce that, and the number of Titans at that front is definitely finite because reinforcing those becomes very dangerous. So it could work. And I think that army is actually being forced back now, so it does end up working. But not before a significant amount of mass points has been murdered by that army of Jib. Now if we look further north to the project of Cheerios, that side expansion. T3 has been finished here, but it's not producing. And we now do see a bunch of spearheads moving up there to attack that. The spearheads will make quick work of that. Even with the presence of volcanoes, it's only a singular volcano that cannot defend against this volume of fire that these spearheads can provide. And the forward fire base, or the forward production base I pointed out right at the start, also about to go down, just due to much superior numbers of Titans and T2 spam. Otrava pulling in some units, maybe in an attempt to hold their own position right here, or possibly to try and defend, or help defend. However, they still only have T2 and like a bit of T2 and mostly T1. That won't do too much. Volcano is trying its best, however, a bunch of those missiles still impact on the shield, weakening that. And also we still do have a bunch of missiles just properly hitting the ground and stuff. That volcano is not being used successfully. And there's the nuke. Right here. Where's that going? Where is it going? See a ping right here. And that is going right after the base of Icomilon that could possibly decide the air game for the entire game, or air for the entire game. As with that base being gone, that should give Hachi some time to get their own air production up, to catch up with the other stuff. Now there is a SMD that did finish for Fake XD, but that has just finished by looks fit and is nowhere near loaded. Of course, still no SMD out for Mountain Robot. They, by looks fit, are still sitting at T2. But I expect that SMD will now be quickly thrown up by other players. Yep, Furfur immediately starting work on that. That nuke flies through, of course, it lands. And taking out all of the core mass and the majority of the air grid, including the AHQ. Actually not taking out 2 tier 3 P-gens. Like, one takes a lot of damage, so probably due to the chaining of the other P-gens. The other one is completely fine, so out of the explosion range. But it does look like Icomilon immediately starting work on rebuilding those P-gens. Also immediately starting a new SMD. So while that did set the Northern team back for a bit, that definitely means that Hachi needs to focus on getting that T3 air up as fast as possible to get into the air game themselves. And it does not look like they're doing that. They are building up more mass, that can definitely be important, but they are still putting a lot of willpower onto that nuke. Now a air factory was built and is upgrading to T3, so they definitely are intending to make an effort onto that. But they should ideally finish that before the T3 production of Icomilon is back up. Though currently at this time, Fake XC also only has a very small air grid, which is being expanded, yes, but right now still very tiny. Mass for both teams has exceeded the 1k threshold. Team 1, even after the nuke, actually had around 300 mass. Or 200 to 300 mass. That is a sizable difference. That will definitely allow them to pull ahead even further. The air grid for Bark fully operational by the looks of it. And they do have a sizable air force now. That should probably outnumber the air units of the Northern team. We're looking at 23 ASF for Icomilon. How much does Fake XD have? 22 for Fake XD, so about 50 if I... Never mind, not Furfur, yeah. Yeah, about 50. Or 45, I guess. I think I miscounted there. And 62 out from Bark, so currently air advantage in favor of the Southern team. Now some very good air turns and very good, very well coordinated airplay from Northern team can still counter that, especially if Bark makes some bad turns. But that's still a rather big difference, so that would need to be some really bad air micro to allow for that. Hachi in the meantime using the base that they inherited earlier from Chicken Rayaba now to push out some Harbingers, attempting to push against Furfur. However, they now also have their own Percivals, which due to the higher Alpha Strike will make short work of those Harbingers. Short work of the T3 land. And we now also see some Wolfus out from Mountain Robot being utilized to try and help defend, however, those are quickly annihilated by the Air Force of Bark. Airfight possibly brewing. ASF seemingly all gifted over to Icomilon, but it does not happen. Now, it makes sense to gift over the ASF from the perspective of Fake XD, because on the one hand, Icomilon is significantly higher rated, meaning that they will most likely have a better air micro. It's just a difference of skill there, making that a reasonable thing. The other thing, of course, one player can usually make better air micro than two separate players, because it's one central player making all of that. It saves a bunch on coordination and stuff like that. Now, if we look back into the west, Jib continues the push forward, and we do see large amounts of spearheads now being utilized, which will just annihilate any kind of defense emplacement that is attempted to be built up, because that is just what those are used for. Up on the eastern side and the further north, Hatchery did actually build a Galactic Colossus, slowly pushing that up. That will possibly allow to force 4-4 back for a bit. Gain some ground. Especially with the raid up north here. That managed to push past. As that will just completely annihilate the forces that 4-4 currently has up there to defend, and that can also cause massive economic damage. Now, Hachi complaining that Cheerios should take a Monkey Lord, and yep, Monkey Lord was built up right here, and it is now slowly being moved up to the front. Looks like the build-up of the aggregate has been cancelled as an order. That seems questionable in my mind. And it still seems like a lot of production focus is being put into that nuke launcher. I don't think that nuke launcher can get too much more value. Like, SMD for Acomedian has now been built. They have their AHQ back up, so the time frame for Hatchy to properly capitalize on that has now closed. Aggregate for Fake XT is now also not to be underestimated. And Bark did not continue to expand that aggregate any further. Meaning that air game will most likely now shift in favor of the northern team once more. The thing that was already predicted by Chicken Rayaba earlier on, after noticing the two air player situation and the size of the aggregates. But yes, at this point I'm not sure if the small investment Hatchy is making is actually enough. Okay, more build power is being put into that, and there is no T3 HQ building Tier 3 engineers. Okay, those look like Tier 2 on the first look, but okay, they are Tier 3. But that aircraft needs to be expanded rapidly if they want to truly contest air here. We do have a Cos Air Sniper tank against Jib with a following airfight. Looks like currently this one is going in favor of Bark. However, we do have SAMs in the area, so a airfight happening over SAMs that is far from ideal and will cause a lot of losses here. But it looks like it is still being won right now. However, Bark will definitely need to stay on that ASF production to keep up air control. Flying over some more SAMs, taking some more losses. But I think those will successfully pull back. For those ASF, some air staging facilities would actually be a really good coterie to heal them back up. Give them some more fighting strength, especially with that veterancy some of those got. They would actually become very effective. But also, of course, just the thing that generally, for each recurring fight with the same ASF, air staging becomes more valuable because the ASF that survived the last fight can effectively go in full health into the next fight if they are given the chance to go into the air staging facilities. Meaning that if you get some downtime between air fights, you can basically fight each of them with a fully with fresh units, even though you are still using units that have been built up earlier. That massive amount of spearheads now slowly annihilating the mass extractors of Cheerios. T3 Maxes going pop, exploding away under that storm of missiles. That hail of missiles, I guess. It's just insane. Monkey Lord pushes in to take out that spam and causing some decent damage with that massive microwave laser. However, with the presence of Percival's, Cheerio still definitely does need to be careful because Monkey Lords are not very tanky and they are very short range. I'm pretty sure they are being Percivals do outrange them, and the high alpha strike on those Percivals will make quick work of a experimental, especially a Monkey Lord. Now it is gaining some veterancy, but it is also now taking a lot of fire, both from Percivals and Titans. Second tank of veterancy right there, but Cheerio's doing the right thing, pulling it back for now to regenerate and use it with some other stuff. There is now a GC also coming up to the front to support that. The combination of the two should be very powerful. In the meantime, it looks like the GC that was built up by Hachi in the north has now made it into the base of Furfur. Like, into the main base. There is also already a second one pushing up behind that, as well as a supporting army. The GC about to take out a Fat Boy that was about to finish. But with the presence of those Zakus, which are very tanky, and those are combatant Zakus, a bunch of Percivals and Ravagers that have been built up, that GC is no longer long for this world. Combatant Zaku is very powerful, because not only are Zakus extremely tanky, with a base HP pool of 16,000 HP for the UEF, they also, with the gun upgrades that of course can be started at the can be started with if you build the presets in the Quantum Gateway, you get a ridiculous amount of firepower. And at the same time, since they are technically still commanders, they also produce 1 mass and 20 power, even without getting the RAS upgrade. I actually like to see them used like that because I feel like the combat Zakus are a bit underused. I mean, you usually see the RAS Zakus for more mass production, but the combatant preset Zakus are also can be really useful because they are basically tier 3.5 combat engineers. And also really good combat units at the same time. Since they always have T3 build power. First GC did end up going down, of course, but the second GC has now made it in and has taken out the SMD in that area. Interesting, so it looks like... well, that nuke is about to load again for Hachi. I still think it should have just been reclaimed. Instead, with a higher focus on getting that air grid up. Which is still not really up. And at this point, I am very much certain that the Northern team outproduces Spark, who has built up a bunch of gunships that will possibly cost him the air game now, because if that production completely went into ASF, they could have possibly held onto air long enough for Hachi to get their air grid up. But with that, they no longer have, they now don't have the ASF numbers to properly contest that. T3 Air also finished for Mountain Robot now, and they are producing that. So 3 players at T3 Air for the Northern team. Nuke is fired, and as suspected with the killed SMD is going into the base of Furfur. It will take out a few maxes. Right, the base has actually been gifted over to Akomi Lind, I guess to use that mass more effectively, since Furfur thought that they would probably be out of the game at this point. The big wave of Whalers now being utilized by Bark down south to deal with the massive amounts of Percivals that is now pushing into the base of Cheerios. Looks like the GC died, and where's the Monkey Lord? The Monkey Lord probably also already dead, possibly even already reclaimed. But I suspect that was the work of those Percivals. Again, those are extremely powerful. Another thing I do see right here is a Defense satellite used very aggressively. So Novak centers built up by Jib, and we actually have 2 on the field already. How's Sheeting looking? Well, Sheeting for the airbase of Bark is queued up, but not finished at this moment. No Sheeting at all in the base of Hachi, who is now actually building some more T3 air factories. And I don't see a lot of shielding coming out from most players, to be honest. Like, there's a bunch of shielding for Ultrava, yes. And most ACUs are standing in a position where they cannot be sniped by that. But still very risky. Bunch of whalers now built up by Fake, and those do just take out the 2 more GCs built up by Hachi to try and push in. A airfight is about to ensue, with Bark taking that out in support of the few ASF that Hachi managed to build up yet, or at this point. But it looks like they are severely outnumbered in the air game now by the Northern team. In fact, by each air player outnumbering them on their own. Or like each of the 2 major air players outnumbering them on their own. By the looks of it in the air game. That is an awful position to be in, because at that point the different micro from 2 players becomes an advantage. Because you're no longer out-microing 1 player to try and win air, but out-microing 2 players, each doing their own maneuvers, meaning that you basically have to do that you would need to do 2 things at the same time at that point. The thing is, you might end up always possibly losing one of those maneuvers at each time, but yeah. That's why when you are on equal or lower ASF count, you generally want them to be controlled by 1 player, but at that point, at this current situation, it's probably better the way it is. Now, the spearheads for Jib, annihilating the firebase that Cheerios was hiding in. And they are just going 40 control K, bowing out, seeing no way to win this. Bark, for some reason, making the decision to move out of the water right here and moving up. I mean, they are currently under a shield, but they are just moving up into their base in an unshielded area with Novak satellites overhead. I'm not sure what the reasoning behind that is. Also, there is still a lot of support on that nuke, which, now that everyone definitely does have SMD ready, I'm pretty sure, seems very questionable. I think it should have been reclaimed before the previous nuke was fired, but at this point, I'm not sure what the play there is. But I don't see that working out, because we do now also have the land just collapsing right here in the base Hachi inherited from Cheerios. AGC about to finish. It's already on the stand-up process. The arms almost opened, but the engineers being focused down, so... Well, does it finish? There's some T1 engineers left, come on! No, it doesn't. All engineers die possibly seconds before the GC manages to finish and do anything. If that had finished, it could have probably delayed... Well, it probably would have delayed the inevitable, but still bought some time. Now we do see a push coming out from Hachi, coming out from the northern base, the one that once belonged to Chicken Rayaba, with 2 GCs. While the push in the south from Jib is just wreaking havoc. The push up north also, of course, threatening Jib. Bark does go down, but looks fit down to the Novaxes. I'm not sure what the play there was. But this quickly now turns into a 2v5. A Jib just with a ridiculous amount of units on the field. Northern team significantly out-ecoing the southern team at this point. And of course the difference in air production as well. I don't see any way for the southern team to come back from this. Like, northern team has basically uncontested air control. We just see insane amounts of Wolflus now out from Comilin. annihilating any army that tries to push in. And with that, I don't see there a way for Hatchery to really come back from this. Like, they don't have the ASF count to properly contest air anymore, and not the production to build up a ASF count to be able to do that. They are getting some nice early taunts in there, and some, well, okayish air micro, with a bad turn of one of the part of the Air Force, but with the with the ASF from Fake XD also coming in, that fight is just lost. So now uncontested air control in hand of the northern team. Bark complaining that Hatchy should have just gone directly air instead of going for the nuke play. I would have to disagree on one point, as the first nuke did do amazing damage, but the mistake there, in my humble opinion, was that the nuke was kept and attempted to be continued with the intent of continued use. I think it should just have been reclaimed to finance the air grid that has now actually been created, because that would have made things a lot easier and a lot better there. But alas, that did not happen, so I guess it doesn't matter. Massive amounts of gunships taking out the GC. Moving on now to take out the supporting army. The sweep in the southwest from Bark is slowly continuing, with Fat Boys now built up as well, slowly pushing forward. There's nothing of the base of Gyrios left anymore. In the northeast it's looking a lot better, but well, there's also a bunch of Othams now just pushing through the lines, running past stuff and causing backline damage. At this point, I don't see any way for the southern team to win this game. Massive gunship wave now moving south. Looks like that is headed straight for the air grid of Hachi, who is desperately trying to build up, to upgrade those shields to deal with the, or better defend against the satellites. Mass amounts of Percivals making it into the water, I guess to try and bypass through this line. And we do have Otrava actually have the presence of mind to build up some torpedo launchers to try and deal with those Percivals, and actually getting some damage in with that. A Megalith was built up by Hachi to try and help defend as well. But, well, okay, I think it will actually survive, but... Well, okay, there are strike bombers coming in. There is the a gunship wave. Flag quickly built up by Hachi, and that's definitely the right call, as Flag is very cheap to spam up, and the AoE is very effective in dealing with gunships. Especially Tier 2. Like, it's generally the better solution if you see something like this coming at the Tier 3 stage as well, but especially T2, it is the right move, because the lower HP pool at T2, of T2 gunships means that Flag is even more effective to just shoot that out of the air, since the AoE cloud of Flag can just annihilate entire groups of air units. But at this amount, with this amount of gunships, I don't think any amount of Flag could properly defend against that. At least not this quickly erected Flag. Though saying that, we do see a lot of that, of those gunships dropping out of the air. So maybe it is enough. Yeah, it actually looks like it. Completely missed it, but Hatchery did go down to something. Never mind, it looks like it was a Control K. So it only leaves Otrava, the lowest rated player, but there is already a solution to their existence as well, as a massive wave of torpedo bombers does move in. And hello, Hikario. I would prefer if you... I'm gonna delete that message because I would prefer if you don't use my actual name. Like, internet anonymity and all of that. Sorry, but... yeah. Right, the game Had to type out for that, sorry. God damn it, now I have to blur that in editing. But yeah, the top bomber snipe does pick up Otrava in the end as well, and with that the Southern team does end up losing. Now... right. Yeah. I think the proper game-losing play here was most likely keeping that nuke. Like, I would say the first nuke was probably not a stupid play. It did definitely do massive damage, so I do see the value of that, but after that, the surprise factor was gone and the players were quickly able to prepare for the next one, so... Right. Yeah, I do stream as well. But yeah, with that nuke not being reclaimed, that was just that massive mass investment that did end up losing. Right, so with that, I hope you did enjoy this. This was streamed live on Twitch, as can be seen with that chat. And yeah, so link to that will be, as per always, down in the description. If you did enjoy it, maybe leave a like, or don't, can't force you. And subscribe if you want to be notified when more casts like these do come out. But with that, I hope you did enjoy. And yeah, hope to see you again in a future piece of content. Until then, bye!